The galaxy was wide and endless, filled with countless stars, but there was one line every species feared, a line no one dared to cross. It was known as the Empire's border, a place guarded by powerful fleets and shadowed by rumors of entire civilizations erased for stepping too far. For centuries, the Galactic Empire had ruled with fear. Their word was law, and their borders were iron walls. But humans were different. They were the new race on the galactic stage, curious, stubborn, and never willing to bow down. They listened to the warnings, they heard the threats, but they still asked the question that no one else dared to speak out loud. What if we crossed? Captain Elias Moran stood on the bridge of the human ship Resolute, his eyes fixed on the shimmering line of space ahead. It was not visible like a wall, but the sensors marked it clearly. Behind that invisible barrier lay the Empire's heartlands, rich with resources, ancient with history, and forbidden to all outsiders. "Sir, the fleet is in position," said Commander Kara, her voice steady but her hands trembling. "All ships are waiting for your order." Elias knew what was at stake. If humans turned back now, the Empire would laugh. They would call humanity weak and foolish, but if they crossed, if they dared, they might start a war that could end them all. He looked at the stars, remembering the faces of those who believed in him, the scientists who dreamed of freedom, the families who wanted a future without fear. "We cross," Elias said quietly, his words simple but heavy. The engines roared, and the first human fleet moved across the invisible border. Sensors screamed as alarms spread across the Empire's patrol stations. Within minutes, massive warships appeared, their black hulls glowing with deadly light. "This is the Empire," a cold voice thundered across the comms. "You have violated our sacred territory. You will be erased." The Empire ships were larger, stronger, built with centuries of dominance. They laughed at the human vessels, calling them fragile toys. One Empire captain sneered, "Primitive creatures, you will regret this moment." But the humans did not fire. Not yet. Instead, they spread their fleet in a strange formation, unpredictable, weaving patterns across the stars. The Empire commanders frowned. Their computers struggled to calculate the human paths. "Strange," whispered Commander Kara. "They cannot predict us." The first shots were fired, burning beams of plasma cutting through the void. 2 human ships shook violently, but they did not fall. They dodged, twisted, and counterattacked in ways no algorithm expected. The Empire ships staggered, confused. Elias gave the command, "Strike back." And suddenly the humans did, not with brute force, but with speed and strategy. Their smaller ships darted between the giants of the Empire, striking at weak points, cutting supply lines, blinding sensors. The battle became chaos, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire was not laughing. But then something happened. One human ship, the Vanguard, vanished from the fleet. It did not explode, it did not burn, it simply disappeared in a flash of strange light. "Captain, we lost the Vanguard," Kara shouted, panic filling her voice. Elias's heart sank. Was it destroyed, or had it crossed deeper into the unknown? The Empire commanders whispered among themselves, their cold faces turning pale. "They should not have gone there," one of them muttered, unaware their voice carried across the comms. "If they discover the truth..." Then the transmission cut. The humans had heard it, and so had Elias. There was something hidden beyond the border, something the Empire feared humans might find. The battle still raged, but Elias now knew this was bigger too. Hand territory, bigger than pride. The Empire was hiding a secret worth risking everything. As the Resolute danced between enemy fire, Elias made his choice. "Hold the line," he ordered. "Every ship, hold the line. The Vanguard is out there, and they are about to uncover what the Empire never wanted us to see." The crew stared at him, fear and courage mixing in their eyes. No one spoke of retreat. They all knew the truth. Humanity had crossed the forbidden border, and nothing would ever be the same again. The stars themselves seemed to tremble, as if the galaxy was holding its breath. And in that silence between the fire and the fear, humanity laughed, not with arrogance but with defiance, because they had dared to do what no one else would, and their story was only beginning. The human fleet hung at the edge of Empire space, their ships still glowing from the first clash. Wreckage drifted across the void, silent reminders of courage and loss. The Resolute led the survivors, standing firm against the impossible. But Captain Elias knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not allow this insult to stand, not after centuries of unquestioned power. "Captain, new signals incoming," Commander Kara reported, her voice tense. "They're not patrols, they're war fleets." And she was right. The darkness of space filled with massive vessels, more than the human sensors had ever tracked before. The Empire had sent an armada, their formation precise, their weapons glowing like suns. A message cut through the silence. The same cold voice, but now louder, harsher. "Humans, you have crossed into death. Surrender your ships or be erased from history." The bridge of the Resolute was quiet, every crew member watching Elias, waiting for his answer. He stood tall, his jaw set, and replied with only 3 words: "We do not surrender." The Empire laughed, their mocking voices echoing through the comms. "You are insects playing at war. Your ships are fragile shells. And we will crush you, and no one will remember your name." But what the Empire did not know was that humans had prepared for this moment. Years of study, years of watching from the shadows. They knew how Empire ships fought, how their AI predicted battles, and they had trained to break it. The battle began. Plasma fire lit the void. Explosions painted the darkness in colors of destruction. The Empire advanced with sheer power, their cannons shaking the heavens. Yet the humans moved differently. They did not fight like the Empire expected. Instead of meeting the Armada head-on, they split, weaving patterns that made no sense to computers, but perfect sense to human instinct. They attacked from impossible angles, slipped into blind zones, struck at weak joints. An Empire commander slammed his fists. Their patterns do not calculate, their moves cannot be predicted. The AI confirmed with cold precision. Error, no probability found. For the first time, the Empire's machines failed them, and humans turned that failure into fire. The Resolute led a daring charge, slipping under the belly of a dreadnought and firing point blank at its engines. The massive ship exploded, shaking even the Empire lines. Shock spread like a wave. Still, the cost was high. Human ships burned, their smaller fleets struggling to hold formation, and then the moment of dread returned. "Captain, the Vanguard!" Kara shouted, her voice trembling. "It's back!" Everyone turned to the screen, and there it was, the human ship that had vanished. But it did not look the same. Its hull was scarred, its engines flickered, and its comms sparked with static. "Vanguard, this is Resolute. Report your position," Elias called. The reply came broken, but the words were enough to silence the entire bridge. "Captain, we found something the Empire never wanted us to see. They're hiding." The transmission cut off, the signal drowned in interference. The Empire commanders panicked, their voices slipping from confidence to fear. "Silence that ship. Destroy it now. They must not speak." Elias's eyes narrowed. The truth was clear. The Empire was hiding a secret deep inside their territory, a secret worth killing for, and the Vanguard had seen it. "Protect that ship at all costs," Elias roared. "All units form a shield around the Vanguard. No Empire cannon touches them." The humans fought with renewed fury, weaving around the Empire giants, drawing their fire, sacrificing themselves to protect the single wounded vessel. The galaxy watched in silence, for the news had already spread across hidden channels. Other races saw the broadcast, saw humans standing against an empire that had cowed them for centuries. Hope stirred quietly, like embers in the dark. The Vanguard struggled forward, limping through fire, chased by Empire dreadnoughts. And in that desperate chase, humanity showed its greatest strength. Not power, but loyalty. No one was left behind. The battle raged until space itself seemed to tremble. And though the Empire's numbers were endless, their fear grew. For every time humans should have broken, they laughed, they pushed, they defied. And then, just before the battle reached its peak, the Vanguard's signal broke through once more, a whisper in the storm. "Captain, we found the Empire's secret weapon. It is worse than anyone imagined." The comm cut again, but the damage was done. The words echoed in every ear, human and alien alike. The Empire was afraid. The humans had discovered something beyond their walls of fear. Captain Elias clenched his fists, his eyes cold. "Then this war is no longer about borders," he said, his voice steady like iron. "This war is about truth." And the stars seemed to hold their breath again, as if waiting for humanity's next move. The human fleet floated in broken sail. Ants, wreckage scattered across the void, but their spirits burned brighter than ever. The vanguard had returned, carrying a secret so dangerous the Empire wanted it erased at all costs. Captain Elias Moran stood at the center of the Resolute's bridge, his jaw tight, his eyes fixed on the damaged outline of the vanguard as it drifted closer. Sparks still danced across its hull. Every second it survived felt like defiance against destiny. "Sir, the vanguard's signal is weak," Commander Kara whispered, "but they're transmitting something. Fragments of data." The screen flickered, static hissed, then images appeared, blurry but terrifying, giant structures buried in the darkness of a dead system, their shapes twisted, their size larger than any known station. They were not mines, not fortresses, but something worse. "The Empire calls it the Obsidian Forge," the broken voice of the Vanguard's captain came through. "It builds weapons, living weapons, things that think, things that devour, and they are almost complete." The crew gasped. The Empire was already the strongest force in the galaxy, but if these weapons were unleashed, no species would ever rise again. Suddenly, the transmission cracked with an eerie sound, not human, not machine, a whisper that chilled the bridge. "They are watching you," it said, before the feed cut off. "Captain," Kara said, her voice trembling, "was that from the Empire?" Elias shook his head slowly. "No," he murmured. "That voice was something else." Before anyone could respond, the Resolute's sensors blared, a new fleet emerging from hyperspace, bigger than before, led by a massive flagship with crimson markings. This was no patrol, no ordinary fleet. This was the Empire's Inquisitor Guard, their most feared enforcers, sent only when secrets were threatened. The comms cracked open with a voice colder than ice. "Humans, UFC, and what does not belong to you? Surrender your ships, hand over the traitors, and perhaps your world will burn last." Elias's heart pounded. He knew surrender meant extinction. The Empire could not allow knowledge of the Obsidian Forge to spread. Humanity's only chance was to fight, to hold, and to reveal the truth to the galaxy before they were destroyed. "Send the data to every channel," Elias ordered. "Pirate signals, smuggler relays, anything that can carry a message. Let the galaxy see what the Empire hides." The crew worked furiously, fingers racing across controls, sparks flying as systems strained. The images of the Obsidian Forge began to spread, bouncing across networks hidden for centuries, reaching eyes that had lived in fear. The Empire noticed. Their voice thundered in fury. "Cut their signal, destroy them now." The battle began again, but this time it was different. The Empire did not fight to intimidate, they fought to silence. Their ships pushed forward with desperation, as if they feared words more than weapons. The Resolute twisted through the chaos, its guns blazing, its crew shouting with fire in their hearts. But for every Empire ship they destroyed, two more appeared. The void shook with violence. "Captain, we can't hold much longer," Kara cried. "Their firepower is endless." Elias's face was grim. "We don't need to win here," he said, his voice steady. "We only need to make sure the galaxy knows." At that moment, a flicker appeared on the comms. Alien faces, battered and fearful, but alive. Species the Empire had crushed long ago. They had seen the broadcast, they had heard humanity's defiance, and now they whispered one word: hope. But hope alone was not enough. The Empire flagship moved forward, its massive guns charging, preparing to wipe the humans from existence. Then, without warning, the Vanguard lit its engines. Broken as it was, it surged ahead, placing itself between the Empire flagship and the human fleet. The crew shouted in shock. "Vaw!" "Guard, fall back," Elias roared, but the reply was calm, steady, filled with unshakable courage. "No, Captain, we've seen what's coming. If the Forge completes its work, no one survives. We will buy you time, make sure the truth spreads, make sure humanity's voice is not silenced." And then the Vanguard charged, its weapons blazing, its engines screaming. It smashed into the Empire's formation, detonating in a blaze so bright it burned across the stars. The shockwave tore through the battlefield, scattering ships like leaves in a storm. The Empire flagship reeled, its hull cracked, its weapons failing. Silence fell, broken only by the hum of damaged systems. The humans had survived, but the cost was heavy. The Vanguard was gone, its crew lost, but their sacrifice had carved itself into the heart of the galaxy. Elias stood in silence, the bridge trembling around him, his voice low but fierce. They think fear will break us, but fear only makes us stronger. Humanity will not stop. We will not be silent. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the broken fleets and burning wreckage, the Obsidian Forge waited, its dark engines alive, its secrets whispering across the stars. The war was no longer just about borders, it was about survival, about truth, and about the soul of the galaxy itself. The battlefield was quiet at last, only broken ships drifting across the void. The light of the Vanguard's sacrifice still burned in every heart. Captain Elias Moran stood on the bridge of the Resolute, his fists clenched, his voice steady but low. They gave everything so the truth could live, he said. We cannot let their fire die. Across the galaxy, the images of the Obsidian Forge spread like wildfire. Smuggler channels, rebel broadcasts, even old forgotten satellites carried the signal. Alien worlds that had lived in silence for centuries suddenly saw the Empire's secret. Fear rippled first, but then something new followed, whispers of defiance, whispers of resistance. On the Resolute's comms, strange signals began to appear, voices from across the stars, broken, cautious, but real. This is the Corran clans, one voice said. We thought we were alone, but you showed us the truth. Another followed, the voice rough and scarred. We are the Zarn Collective. We lost everything to the Empire, but if humanity fights, we will fight too. Kara looked at Elias with wide eyes. Captain, they are reaching out to us. Elias nodded slowly, his voice calm. The galaxy has waited centuries for this moment. All it needed was someone to take the first step. But not everyone trusted so easily. The messages came with warnings. The Empire is watching. They will send assassins. Anyone who helps you will be hunted. The crew of the Resolute felt the weight of those words. Every ally could be a trap, every signal could be a trick, but Elias stood firm. We take the risk, he said, because if we stand alone, we die. If we stand together, we live. The first meeting was arranged in the shadow of a dying star, a place so barren the Empire rarely patrolled it. The Resolute arrived, its hull scarred, its crew weary but alert, waiting in silence. Minutes stretched like hours until finally, 3 ships emerged from hyperspace, their designs alien and unfamiliar, their weapons charged, ready to strike if betrayed. The Resolute's comms crackled. We come in caution, not trust. Show us why we should believe humanity. Elias stepped forward, his voice firm, his tone carrying across the stars. Because we crossed the border when no one else would, because we bled to reveal the Empire's lies, and because we are willing to fight when others only bow. Silence followed. Then slowly, one of the alien ships lowered its weapons, a signal of respect. You are reckless, the alien voice said, but you are not cowards. We will listen. The unexpected alliance was fragile, built on scars and fear, but it was real. For the first time in centuries, the Empire's rule trembled, not from rebellion, but from unity. Yet even as hope flickered, danger grew. Deep inside the Empire, the Inquisitor Guard had not given up. They hunted every signal, every whisper, and soon, assassins struck. A small ship from the new allies exploded before docking. The bridge of the Resolute shook with the blast. Alarms screamed. Kara's voice cut through the chaos. Captain, they've infiltrated us. The Empire is here. Dark shapes moved in the corridors, black-armored soldiers with weapons that melted steel. The Empire's assassins had boarded, silent and merciless. Elias grabbed his weapon, his voice iron. All hands repel boarders. We hold this ship or we die. The battle inside the Resolute was brutal, close, desperate. Humans fought in the narrow corridors, their blood staining the walls, but they would not yield. One assassin lunged for the control deck, its blade glowing red, but Kara fired, the shot burning through its armor. She stood panting, trembling, but unbroken. Elias wiped blood from his brow, his eyes burning. They are afraid, he said, his voice echoing. The Empire fears what is coming. They fear us united. At that moment, one of the alien commanders spoke, their voice filled with a strange respect. Your people fight like fire, reckless but unbreakable. If the Empire fears you, then perhaps it is time we all rise. The room fell silent. The meaning was clear. Humanity was no longer alone. The first sparks of a galactic alliance had been lit, but even as those sparks grew, the Empire's shadow deepened. Their secret weapon, the Obsidian Forge, was still alive, still building horrors beyond imagination. Elias knew the path ahead would not be victory, not yet. It would be sacrifice, it would be blood, but it would also be hope. He stood at the window, staring into the endless stars, his voice quiet but fierce. The Empire thought borders would break us. Instead, they made us stronger. Now we will show them what humanity means. The stars did not answer, but somewhere in the dark, allies gathered, enemies prepared, and the war for the galaxy's soul moved closer. The fragile alliance had been born in blood. The Resolute floated scarred but alive, its crew hardened by the assassin strike, its new allies silent but watching. The galaxy was beginning to stir, but the Empire had no intention of waiting. On the bridge, Commander Kara studied the streams of intercepted data, her eyes wide. "Captain, they're coming," she whispered. "Not patrols, not inquisitors. The Empire is sending their war armada, their full fleet." Captain Elias Moran felt the weight settle on his shoulders. He looked at the star map, countless red markers blooming like a storm across the galaxy. The Empire was throwing everything. They wanted humanity crushed before the Alliance could grow. "Signal the allies," Elias ordered, his voice firm. "It's time to stand or fall." The alien ships responded, hesitant but resolved. They had lived in fear for centuries, but now humanity's defiance gave them courage. One by one, their fleets moved into formation beside the humans. The galaxy was preparing for its first united battle in generations. And then, the Empire arrived. The void trembled with their numbers. Dreadnoughts the size of cities, cruisers like mountains of steel, swarms of fighters filling every shadow. Their weapons glowed like stars about to explode. The scale was overwhelming. The Empire's voice cut through the silence, cold and merciless. "Rebels, cowards, traitors, and the humans who poisoned you. Today you die. The galaxy belongs to the Empire and always will." Fear gripped the Allied ships. Their commanders whispered doubts. Some considered retreat, but Elias stood tall, his voice steady, his words carried across the comms to every ship, human and alien alike. "They think we are small," Elias said. "They think we will break, but remember this. They are many, but they are afraid. Afraid of the truth, afraid of unity, afraid of what happens when we fight together. Today we show them. Today we fight not for survival, but for freedom." His words spread like fire across human crews, across alien warriors, across those who had forgotten what courage felt like. Weapons charged, hearts steadied. The battle began, and the galaxy burned. The Empire moved with sheer power. Their armada advanced like a wall of fire, their cannons tearing through space. Entire Allied squadrons vanished in the opening volley. Screams filled the comms. The Empire laughed, believing the fight was already won. But then the humans struck, not with power, but with unpredictability. Their ships danced through the chaos, darting between giants, cutting supply ships, targeting weak points the Empire never considered. Their moves made no sense to machines, but perfect sense to instinct. The alien allies followed, learning, adapting, finding courage in the madness. They copied human maneuvers, turned weakness into strength. For the first time in living memory, the Empire staggered. On the bridge of the Resolute, alarm screamed. Kara shouted, "Captain, we've lost the eastern flank. They're breaking through." Elias's jaw tightened. "Pull them back. Don't hold the line. Drag them in closer." The Empire pressed forward, laughing at what they thought was retreat. But then the trap closed. Hidden mines detonated. Concealed human ships emerged from the dark, slicing into the Empire's exposed core. Explosions rippled across the armada. For a moment, just a moment, it looked like victory. But then the void darkened, shadows swallowed the stars. The Empire's flagship emerged, larger than anything seen before. And behind it, something worse, a weapon born from the Obsidian Forge, black and alive, a monstrous construct with wings of fire and a mind of its own. Kara's voice broke. "Captain, what is that?" Elias stared, his heart sinking. Their secret, their living weapon. The construct roared, not with sound but with thought. Its presence pressed into the minds of every crew, filling them with dread. Ships froze, warriors trembled, even the bravest felt the chill of despair. It struck, a single beam tearing through Allied lines. Dozens of ships vaporized in an instant. Silence followed. Hope cracked. On the comms, the Empire's voice mocked, "Your defiance ends here. You will die as insects, and no one will remember your name." The Allied fleets faltered. Some commanders panicked. Retreat orders spread. The line began to collapse. But on the Resolute, Elias refused to yield. His voice cut through the chaos, strong and unshaken. "Listen to me, all of you. This is the turning point, not the end. They want us broken, but we will not break. We will not run. We are humanity, and today, we stand." The crew cheered, weak at first, then stronger. The Allies heard, their voices rising, shaky but defiant. The fear began to fade, replaced with fire. The living weapon turned its gaze on the Resolute, its wings blazing, its power building. Elias gripped the rail, his eyes steady. "Let it come," he whispered. "We'll show it what humans are made of." The battle was not lost, not yet, but the galaxy stood on the edge of despair and hope, and the next move would decide everything. The battlefield burned like a dying sun. Wreckage drifted in all directions. The Empire's armada pressed forward, and at its center the living weapon from the obsidian forge spread it. His wings of fire, its shadow covering every Allied ship. On the Resolute's bridge, the crew stared in silence. The creature was not only metal, it was alive. Its eyes glowed with hunger. Its voice whispered directly into their minds. "Surrender. You cannot win. You are small. You are weak." Some crew members froze. Others trembled. Commander Kara gritted her teeth, her hands shaking on the console. "Captain, it's inside our heads. I can hear it." Elias Moran stood tall, his voice cutting through the whispers. "Ignore it. It feeds on fear. Give it nothing. We fight with courage, and courage it cannot devour." But the truth was bitter. The living weapon was too strong. Every blast from the Allies was absorbed by its wings. Every missile torn apart before impact, entire squadrons vanished in seconds. The Empire's laughter filled the comms. "Behold the future. The forge creates perfection, and perfection cannot be defeated." Allies began to break formation. Panic spread. Commanders shouted retreat orders. Ships turned to flee, but the weapon was faster, slicing through them like paper. Kara turned to Elias, her eyes desperate. "Captain, if this continues, we lose everyone. What do we do?" Elias's jaw was set, his mind racing. Then slowly his eyes turned to the schematics on the screen. The weapon's heart pulsed with unstable energy. If it was struck directly, it could be destroyed, but no fleet could reach it. The only way was a single ship, a suicide run. Before Elias could speak, a voice cut in from the comms. It was Captain Ryan of the Defiance, a veteran who had fought beside Elias since the first border clash. His tone was steady, too steady. "Elias, I see what you see. That core is unstable. One ship can end this. I will take the Defiance in." The bridge fell silent. Kara shook her head. "No, there must be another way. We can't just throw lives away." But Ryan's voice was calm, almost gentle. "Lives are already being thrown away. Every second this thing lives, more die. If one sacrifice can save thousands, then it is worth it." Elias's fists clenched, his throat tight. "Ryan, you don't have to do this. We'll find another way." But Ryan only laughed, not with arrogance but with warmth. "Old friend, you once told me humanity wins not with power, but with heart. Let me prove you right." The Defiance broke formation, engines burning hotter than ever, its crew silent but determined. Every man and woman aboard knew their fate, and none turned away. The living weapon sensed it, its wings flared, its voice roared into every mind. "You cannot stop me. I am eternal, you are dust." But the Defiance flew on, weaving through fire, dodging claws of light, tearing past Empire escorts, faster, closer, unstoppable. On the Resolute, the crew watched in silence, tears in their eyes. Elias whispered, "You are not dust. You are the spark that will light the stars." The Defiance reached the core, its weapons blazing, its engines screaming. Ryan's final words echoed through the comms. "For humanity, for freedom, for all of us." And then it struck. The explosion was like a second sun, blinding, endless. The shockwave ripped across the battlefield. Empire ships shattered, the living weapon screamed, its wings torn apart, its body collapsing into fire. The obsidian creation was gone. Silence followed, broken only by the crackle of burning debris. The Empire's armada faltered, their confidence shattered, their lines breaking. For the first time in living memory, the Empire was afraid. On the Resolute, the crew stood in stunned silence. Kara wiped her tears, whispering, "They did it. They really did it." Elias stood tall, his voice steady though his heart ached. Their sacrifice will not be forgotten. Their names will be carried across the stars. Today the Empire has learned that humanity does not break. We endure, we fight, and we give everything when it matters most. The Allies rallied, emboldened by the act. Ships that moments ago were ready to flee now turned with fury, striking back at the stunned Empire fleets. Together they pushed forward, tearing through the Empire lines. But Elias knew this was not the end. Even as the enemy retreated, the Obsidian Forge was still out there, building, waiting, and the Empire would return with more. Yet something had changed, something greater than any weapon, for across the galaxy, whispers rose into roars. Species that had once bowed now lifted their heads, inspired by the humans who had faced the impossible, and laughed in defiance. Elias looked at the stars, his voice soft but unshaken. This is only the beginning. The war was far from over, but the turning point had come, and the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy was forever changed. The sacrifice of the Defiance had destroyed the Empire's living weapon, and for the first time in centuries, the Empire's fleets retreated. Silence fell across the stars, but Captain Elias Moran knew it was not victory. Not yet. On the Resolute's bridge, reports poured in from every channel. Species long silenced were rising. Rebellions flared in forgotten systems. Whispers of freedom grew into roars. Humanity had lit the fire, and now the galaxy burned with hope. But deep inside Empire space, the true heart of darkness remained. The Obsidian Forge still lived, still building horrors. The Empire's capital still stood, and its emperor had spoken. "Let them come. I will break them myself." Elias gathered the allies, their ships scarred but unbroken. Their leaders weary but burning with resolve, they met in a hidden council aboard the Resolute. "The Forge must fall," Elias said, his voice steady. "As long as it lives, the Empire can rise again. This war ends only when their heart is destroyed." The alien leaders hesitated, their voices trembling with old fear. No one has ever entered the capital and lived. Its fleets are endless, its defenses impossible. Elias met their eyes, calm and unshaken. "Then we will do what no one else has ever done. Humanity was not supposed to cross their border, but we did. Humanity was not supposed to survive their weapon, but we did. And now we will do the impossible again, together." And so they came, humans and allies, a fleet born of courage and loss. They set their course for the Empire's capital. The final battle awaited. The Empire was ready. The skies of their capital filled with dreadnoughts, their stations glowing like firestorms. The Emperor's flagship stood at the center, black and endless, its weapons bright as suns. The comms blazed with his voice, cold and proud. "You insects dare enter my domain. You dare bring your filth into my skies. Today your defiance ends, and your ashes will scatter across eternity." Fear rippled, but Elias's voice cut through it, strong and fierce. "Today your lies end. Today your empire falls. Today the galaxy learns what it means to be free." The battle erupted, the void lit with fire. Ships clashed in storms of plasma and steel. Human ships darted through giants. Alien fleets struck with fury born of centuries of chains. The Empire fought with rage, but their fear showed, their formations breaking, their commands frantic. Still, the fight was brutal. The Allies bled, ships burned. The Resolute itself shook with every impact. Alarms screamed, hulls cracked, yet no one faltered. They pressed on. The Emperor's flagship loomed ahead, its guns tearing through fleets, its shields unbroken. Kara's voice cried out, "Captain, we cannot breach it. Its defenses are too strong." Elias's eyes narrowed, his voice calm. "Then we break its heart another way. Aim everything at the command too. We're strike the mind, and the body will fall." The Allies obeyed. Fire converged on the flagship. Shields flared, weapons roared, but cracks began to show. The Emperor's voice thundered in fury. "You cannot destroy me! I am eternal! I am the Empire!" And then the forge itself stirred deep in the distance. Its engines flared, as if preparing to unleash another horror. The Allies trembled. If it lived, the war would never end. Elias stood firm, his voice cold. "All fleets, full assault on the forge. Leave nothing standing. This ends now." The galaxy obeyed. Every ship turned, every weapon fired. The forge screamed, its black towers cracking, its fire spilling across the void, its monstrous creations dying before birth, the Empire's greatest secret undone in flames. The Emperor howled, his flagship burning, his voice breaking from fury to despair. "No, this cannot be. You are nothing. You are—" But his words were drowned as the Allied barrage struck. The flagship shattered. The explosion brighter than a star. The Empire's heart was gone. Silence followed, heavy, endless. Then cheers erupted across the comms, voices from 100 species, voices that had been silent for lifetimes, now shouting one word: freedom. On the Resolute, the crew sat in stunned silence, some weeping, some laughing. Kara whispered, her voice trembling, "Captain, we did it. The Empire is broken." Elias looked out at the burning horizon, his heart heavy with the memory of those lost. The Vanguard, the Defiance, countless lives given, his voice quiet but fierce. They thought fear would rule forever, but fear has fallen. Humanity crossed their border and turned battle into triumph, and now the galaxy is free. The stars shone brighter than ever, no longer cold, but alive with the promise of a future born from courage, sacrifice, and the laughter of a species that refused to bow. And as the fleet sailed into the new dawn, one truth echoed across every world, whispered in awe and wonder: the humans crossed the border and the galaxy will never forget it.